guys, welcome to the Stamping Society December tutorial, where this month we are featuring a colour combination tutorial where I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what the colours were because I don't have the little thing in front of me, but I can probably tell from my card. They were soft suede, starry sky, shaded spruce, pear pizzazz, metallic foil, and vanilla. I think I've got them all. So it was actually quite a challenge for me because I generally don't go for browns, and I shouldn't say that. Crumb cake's probably a go-to for me, but I tend to go with bright colours. So this was actually a really fun challenge for me because I got out of my comfort zone. So I just chose to go with this background of soft suede because soft suede is not a colour I use very often, and I added sort of accents of the other colours in there, and the actual card base is on starry sky, and I had a lot of fun actually. So I'm going to show you how to make this one today. I'm not sure what colour you'd call this ribbon. It's the natural finish ribbon, but I thought it's still a brown, it's like a natural colour, so I included that in there as well. So I'll run through what I've used. I actually used the Cottage Rose bundle for my card today, which is from the annual catalogue and one that I actually love. I love the dies, I love the stamps, and I love the paper, and the paper I'm going to use as well. That's why it's in the background there. And for my focal, I sort of wanted a tag to go and ground my my images. So I've pulled out the seasonal label dies, which are quite an old set, but it has these, well, I shouldn't say old. It was, I think, last year's mini catalogue at the end of the year. But it has this big label, which is great if you're going to do something like this. So that's the basis of those that I chose, but I also pulled in obviously the natural ribbon and a couple of different embellishments. I chose they're called red and green adhesive back pearls, but I love the gold pearls. They're so shiny, and these fun, what are these ones called? Flowers adhesive back trinkets. So I pulled those in as well for a bit of embellishment, but I'll run through the basis of the supplies. All the dimensions are mentioned, the dimensions I won't mention in the video. They're in the PDF, which is linked below, and you can purchase it from my tutorial store, or you can earn it for free if you purchase over $35 Australian or more in my Stampin' Up store, or you always get my tutorials free if you join my team, which I have a link to join my team below as well. The tutorial is $9.75 in Australian, and it has a PayPal checkout available, so you can purchase that there. I have pre-cut out some of the dies, which are all from those cottage flowers dies. So I've pre-cut out a couple of those to use. So I did 2 of these little leaves in pear pizzazz, and 2 of these little ones here in starry sky, and 2 of these in the metallic gold foil, and I've cut out my label in very vanilla. And then I've got a scrap of soft suede for my sentiment, and then my card base is starry sky, and I have a smaller and a larger layer of soft suede for my card front, and a larger layer and smaller layer here, but the smaller layer is very vanilla, so that's for my inside. So that's the supplies that I have pre-cut out. So I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. So this is the, I don't know the exact name of this paper, that's terrible. Let's have a look. It's the Abigail Rose designer series paper. There's lots of beautiful designs, and it matches with that bundle that I'm using today. But this beautiful one has all of these really large floral arrangements, and I actually only want one to tuck behind my little label there. So I'm actually going to use one of the side floral arrangements because I don't need a whole big one because it's going to be tucked behind somewhat. So I can choose one of the ones that are on the side. So I'm going to cut out, I might choose this one down here. I could have pre-cut this out, but I thought I'd show you, I'd fussy cut with you. I might speed this bit up. So give me a moment and I'll speed this up. Okay, there we go. That's that bit cut out. So the basis of this is to tuck it behind the little label here. So you'll see you may have to chop some little bits off, which I did as I moved it around. I worked out what I wanted to show and what I didn't. You may have to do a little bit of card surgery, which I think I'm going to have to lose this little leaf here just because I will be able to tell. So if I lose that little leaf here, I can tuck that in a little bit better and have that popping out. So you only need a little bit, just as a little accent. So that one is good to go. Now what I'm going to do is prep the next bit. So I'll just make sure we're all good. So I've got a little paper, what do we call these things? Grid paper here, just because I want to protect my surface. So I'm going to pull out the smaller piece of soft suede. And I've got my Whisper White Craft Stampin' Pad. I love this for creating this, I like to call it a bit of a chalkboard technique. And I'm just going to run it over my background. And I'll turn it over, so because I find that one end tends to get a bit more treatment than the other. So I like to flip it around and sort of keep, it's easier to have a drier pad when you're doing this, but you run it over until you're happy with how much coverage is there. So I'm happy with that. And then you can actually adhere this straight down to the larger bit of soft suede now. So that's all that piece required. Just a little bit of Whisper White treatment. Weird calling it Whisper White. But that pad is still called Whisper White. Okay, so then this piece here can actually go straight onto the card base. So I tend to, when I finish a piece and it's good to go somewhere, I like to stick it because otherwise I lose it. So I'm going to stick this to my card base with some Stampin' Dimensionals because I want a little bit of dimension on there. So, whoopsie. I'm just going to peel off the backings and stick that one to the Starry Sky card base. So we'll stick that on, make sure it's somewhat even, so that's good to go. Now the next bit I can actually prep is I can actually stick my, or prep my label. So I want to bring back in, I've got a really squeaky chair, I want to bring back in my label that I've pre-cut with the Very Vanilla, and I'm going to bring in my soft suede ink pad and a blending brush. So with my blending brush, I'm just going to add some soft suede ink and go around the edges of my tag because I want to distress that just a little bit. So just adding a little bit of ink to those edges. So I'm being pretty rough with it. I just want a little bit of soft suede on there. Now this is where I want to decide where my floral piece is going, as opposed to the tag. So I want the tag to be somewhat centered. So I'm actually thinking I might lose this leaf down the bottom as well. So it's just doing a little bit of surgery to your cutouts until you're happy. So I think I want that about there. So I'm going to add just a little bit of Stampin' Seal. Place that on where approximately I want it and stick that down. And then I can add my label on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So this is not a super complicated card, but it's a lot of fun to make using a different color scheme as well. So I would never have thought to combine these colors together. I might have combined the browns and the greens, but definitely wouldn't have thought about putting the Starry Sky in there, but it's quite fun. Okay, so I'm going to stick that one down. And then what I want to do is actually bring in a scrap of some Very Vanilla, because I'm going to stamp now. So I'll bring in, I'm going to stamp this one down here, and I'm going to do some colouring. So I'm going to stamp that one in Memento Black. And I just want to ink that up and stamp it down 3 times. And I'm going to colour it with the Shaded Spruce Stampin' Blends. So I generally tend to do my darkest colour first, but for these I found it easier to actually, I won't do the brush tip end. I found it easier to go in with my light first. So I'm just going to give them a bit of coverage in my lightest colour blend. So I'll do one image at a time. I'm just gonna lightly add some color to the stems. And we'll add the detail in just a moment. That's my light colour, and then I'm just going back along the stem and sort of feathering it out and adding some darker detail into those images. So I sort of like to just feather it out a little bit. And then you can come back in with your lighter colour and blend that out a little bit if you like. It's just sort of about playing around with it until you're happy. So I find that it does take a moment to really show the when letting the colour do its thing and blend, and to see if you need to add more or less, or well, you can't add less, but more dark and more blending. So I'll speed this bit up and colour the rest of these images. Okay, so there's all of the fun images all done, and this one has a coordinating die in the Cottage Flowers die. So what I might do is just chop that little bit of extra off and run these through my mini die cut machine so that they're all die cut out. Got the tiniest little bit of washi tape here, so let's just see if I can line those up. last one. Gorgeous. I'll pop this one out of the way. And I might just add a little bit of Winker Stella to each of those, just for a little bit of shimmer and shine. Just as a little bit of something extra. I love Winker Stella. So beautiful. So I'm just adding that to the leaves. There we go. Okay, so now the next bit I want to do is probably get my sentiment prepared. So I'm going to use the sentiment that says you are positively the greatest, which is such a fun sentiment. Lots of people I could send that one to. So I'm going to bring in my Versamark ink pad. Just stamp that one down onto the soft suede. And then bring in some white embossing powder. Make sure that's well covered. And then my heat gun doesn't quite reach, so I'm just going to heat this up and emboss it to the side. I've just been moving around my craft room and I'm still finding, well, painting my craft room, sorry, so everything's been moved around, so I'm just readjusting everything slowly. Everything's back in the same spot, but you lose things easily. Well, I do. Okay, so I'm gonna just trim this down just a tiny bit. I think that should be good. So I've just trimmed a little bit off. And I'm just gonna trim this on each end, just slightly on an angle. So that's got our sentiment all prepared. And now we want to bring in our ribbon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just work out roughly how much I need. And trim that down. I want to cut each end on a slight angle, and I'm going to do something a bit lazy. Well, I don't know if I call it lazy. I just I find it easier. So I'm going to pinch those together, grab my stapler and staple them, because I'm not going to see that middle bit, and I find that was easier. Then I could just add a little bit of adhesive and hold that down. So I found that as like a super easy way to quickly adhere that and have it sit. So now I'm going to roughly place things where I think I might want them. So this is generally what I'll do if I'm making a card similar to this one. I'll sort of place and then I'll shuffle and work out where things are going to go. So I know that I've got all my pieces cut, so it makes it super easy. So I know I want that little leaf in there, and then I'm going to bring in a little bit of this starry sky. And then... oh, someone's playing some nice loud music outside my window. That's nice. Okay, so that's roughly where I want those things to go. And then I have the magical glue dots, which are fantastic, and this is what I do when I have got an arrangement like this. I actually hold, peel back and stick. It is my way of holding these kind of arrangements down without having to move things. Again, you could use things like, what's that stuff? Press and seal. But I find this easy if it's not too many things. So I'm going to flip that around and do the same thing on the other side. These Take Your Pick tools are so handy for things like this. So I'm placing a glue dot down under each element that I've got sticking or sitting here. And I have got glue dots on both sides of this sheet. That's interesting. I need one more. Okay. So I need one under that Starry Sky piece there. Okay, and then I want to add in my sentiments. So my sentiment's going to go on top of there with some glue dots. Not some glue dots, some Stampin' Dimensionals, sorry. So I'll add a few of those. And I'm just going to stick that right on top. And then I want to splatter the whole card with some Wink of Stella. This is meant to be a shiny card, so going to town with that. And then I'm going to bring in the embellishments. So I've got a few different embellishments here. So the adhesive back flowers, I'm going to add a couple down on this bottom bit. So I'm just going to choose a couple places to add those. So I've got 2 down there. And I'm going to add one of those up here too. So I've got 3, and it's a bit of a triangle. Like you could draw a skinny triangle there. And then with the red and green adhesive back pearls, I'm going to add a few of those as well. So I'm going to add 1 down the bottom here. And then I think I've added a cluster of 3 up the top. So I'm going to add a few up the top here. So I might just add them like that. Pretty. So that's the decorations on the outside. So that was fun. And then now let's do a quick inside. So I think I've used the same stamp. And don't you love it when you do a card a little bit before you make the video? You've got to remember how you made it. So I'm going to just quickly clean off my stamp because I've had Memento Black, and I'm actually going to stamp it with Shaded Spruce. So I want to take my smaller layer of Very Vanilla, and I'm going to take my Shaded Spruce ink pad. That was a bit squeaky. And I'm just going to stamp this down in this corner a couple of times. Oh, that didn't stamp perfectly. Thank goodness paper has 2 sides. Let's get this one right. That's better. And up the top here. So I'll let that dry for just a second because I am going to blend over the top of this, but I'm going to add a stamp that says Friends Forever, which is from the same stamp set. So I'm going to ink that up. I think I actually inked it up in soft suede on the original, but I've just done Memento Black, but that's okay. So I've just stamped that on there. Then what we want to do is bring in our Hair Pizzazz ink, and I'm going to take another blending brush and just lightly go around. Starting off the card, I'm going to add some green, and then just lightly, with a softer touch, blend it out. So you want to start like darker in the corners and then soften your touch and lightly blend out. And then we'll turn the corner, or turn the card around and do it in that top corner as well. And then just lightly blend it out. Like that. And then that one can get adhered to the larger layer of soft suede. And then we're just, then we're just going to adhere that to the inside of the card. And we can even add some Wink of Stella just to the inside there as well for some sparkle. So there we have it. That is that fun card. So a really cool color combo to work with. You could do it for any theme card. You could do it even for a masculine card. I've gone feminine with all my florals. Do you know, funny story, I actually made the original card and I, for some reason, mistook soft suede as early espresso. So I've actually got extra, but it's not soft suede, it's early espresso. I don't know why. I went to go to the end and stamp my Friends Forever in soft suede. I'm like, hold on, that front is not soft suede. So I redid the whole card, but yeah, you can mix it up and change it up. So I hope you enjoyed a look at my card this month and how to make a fun card with that suite, or using blends, or making the sort of the chalkboard background. Lots of different things you could play with. I hope you got some inspiration. Be sure to check out the PDF below and links to all the other Stamping Society team. I hope you check out their stuff. It's all amazing. And I will see you guys next year, back in January, for another fabulous tutorial. So thank you for following along with all the Stamping Society journey in 2022, and we will all see you back next year. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. Be sure to leave a comment or give me a thumbs up. I'd love to hear from you. Bye.